Robbie Mortimer grew up in the central west of New South Wales as one of five brothers in a sporting family. He would go on to become a professional sportsman before returning to his home area and becoming a teacher and a mentor, all while creating music. His first album, the pop-leaning 200 Years Too Late, was released in 2021. He has a brand new song, Blow the Speakers, and it's as high octane as the title suggests. So I'm going to ask him about it. Hi, Robbie.
G'day, Sophie. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you on. And as I mentioned before we started recording, I feel like I should already have met you because your name comes up so often. I am going to start by asking you about Blow the Speakers, which seems to be like a mission statement for you. Would that be true to say?
Absolutely. I love that actually. Yeah, definitely. I'm really proud of the song, as you can probably tell. Like it's been a long journey for me to kind of find um myself as a as a person, as a songwriter, as an artist, and stuff like that. And I'm really kind of glad where this song landed. It led me in a place where authentically I always wanted to go musically. And I'm very proud of the song, the sound that was created, the lyrics and the story that it's a message that I want to share with the world, and I thought it was a really good track to lead out with. And as you said, it's a very high energy kind of country rock sound, and I'm extremely proud of the song. I really am.
It's interesting that you say it's where you wanted to go musically because 200 Years Too Late is a lovely album. It is
Yeah.
more pop influenced. There is some country sounds on there, but does that mean that really you were always trending towards country, but you felt that for that album you needed to do something different?
It's a great question because I country was always I would say I'm the youngest of five boys, and we always grew up with the sounds of of Johnny Cash and in particular John Williamson, like a lot of Australian country we listen to, Warren H. Williams, all that stuff that and it was so funny because it was lyrics that I was always really drawn to how people write lyrics and how you can have so many meanings for different things, and how people like this everyone can interpret music in their own way. Whatever they're going through, music can direct you in that kind of to give you some healing or to give you some hope or to give you something. So my last album was very lyric kind of based, where it had those kind of stories and that very personal kind of touch. And I knew that I loved the album, and respectfully, I didn't really mind if anyone else did or not, because it was like something I needed to say and a journey I needed to go on. So that led me to the opportunity to kind of explore that world, to know what I wanted to do and also what I didn't want to do, and authentically led me back to country music because it's been in my veins forever. So it's funny. I probably opened a few paths of I've tried that. It doesn't fit well with me. I've tried that. That's not really where I want to go. And as I said, authentically, it just landed back to country music, which is flows so heavily through my blood.
There are some really impactful songs on that album, though, like The Truth and One Day in Wonderland. And One Day in Wonderland is the sort of song that's actually hard to talk about. People need to listen to it, I think.
Yeah.
But The Truth is also, it's got a really interesting story to it. And it's sort of a perspective on a relationship that I hadn't heard in a song before.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that song. Honestly, I think I wrote that song. I wrote all the lyrics of this, all the music, everything in that. It's the first. To be honest, these last couple year or two was the first time I'd ever co-written or done anything with anyone else. So,
Right.
but yeah, The Truth is in particular a really special song to me. I think I wrote it in 12 minutes or something silly like that. And I'm really proud of that song because we went into the studio, we recorded it live, then and there. Everything you hear in there is done in one take. You can hear the chair creaking or me even clearing my voice during the solo and stuff like that. And it was so raw and so authentic that it was so keepable, if that makes sense.
Right.
I'm very proud of that song. The story kind of talks about flipping a coin and wondering, where you'll end up with this person that you love. Do we go west? Do we, what do we do? How do we make this work? And in the end, it's just, wishing someone well and just knowing, whatever happens in life, then you cheer each other on, you love each other. And it's so funny because a lot of my stories haven't always been personal. I read a lot of books or watch movies or something like that, and I love creating characters and things like that out of that as well. So I'm really proud of that album, and I'm really glad that some people are going back and listening to the catalog as well.
Yeah. So, which authors do you like to read?
Well, it's funny because I grew up like we obviously listen to reading all the Australian authors, like your but I think that I was really influenced by a lot of poetry. So like one of my favorite artists, and not many people know this, but he's Cody Simpson, and he kind of is known as that poppy kind of kid from the Gold Coast. But I really got into his lifestyle and stuff, and he was writing a lot of poetry and sharing it on Instagram and stuff like that. And I loved that kind of stuff growing up. My dad was a very good poet. He is a very good poet. So I was writing a lot of poetry and things growing up. And then I saw someone that I was very influenced by
Mm-hmm.
writing all these poems and stuff. So I was like, oh, I can do that too. And then ultimately they turned into to songs and things like that. So it's probably more so poetry based, and where you can take songs through reading poetry, you can basically their lyrics, you know what I mean? So that was something I was really inspired by. So I had a lot of little poetry books and things like that. I would read them, I'd create a character out of them, or it would be a personal thing that I went through, and and then wrote from there, which was really cool. It was a really it was a really great experience, to be honest, to get in the mind of something or someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, when I interviewed Nathan Lamont recently, he said, "Oh, Robbie is a poet," and I think he actually meant it. Not he obviously meant it literally, but there was also,
Yeah.
I think he really meant it to pay tribute to your lyric writing skills.
Beautiful to hear that. No, Nathan's he's a great human being. I have so much time and respect for Nathan. He's been on quite a bit of a journey, and when we linked up after I was in the 2 Star Maker competition last year, I put it out into the universe. I said, I want to go and I want to write with anyone who says yes. I don't care where you live. I don't care what it is. I want to make this happen. And Nathan and I reconnected. I knew Nathan from a couple of years previous, and I think we got on the Zoom maybe three times a week minimum, for the first half of the year. And if it
Wow.
wasn't just to chat about, most of it was obviously songwriting, but it was just, I think, supporting each other in the industry. I think as Australians, sometimes can sometimes there's a lack of support here and there, but it's been wonderful to link up with someone so positive and someone so willing to learn and ask me questions. And I don't have the answers to them all, but I feel like he kind of lent on me in a really positive way, and he's just a great person. He's a great songwriter. He's incredible. He's got an incredible voice, and he's grown so much as a musician. I'm extremely proud to call him as a friend as well as fellow songwriter, and I'm cheering him on so loud. I really hope he does well.
Yeah, I get the sense that the two of you are true collaborators in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
I think we've just enjoyed, as I said, just supporting each other and helping each other through the ins and outs of things, and it's great to have support from people that genuinely care. And he's, as I said, he's a very good friend of mine. He's very generous with his time, and there'd be times that I'll be like, mate, I need help with this song like now, because we're going to do something. He just get on a Zoom and fit something out, and I've written some of my best songs in the world with Nathan Lamont, definitely.
And the two of you were also on the bill at Night in Nashville in Orange recently, which is your hometown. So
Yeah.
how did that show go?
It was terrific. It was something that I really looked forward to for a long time. I had a 7-piece band with me. It was a really high energy country rock kind of sound and show. And I know how much it means to the people in my hometown as well, that, music has saved a lot of people. It's people come and support, which is fantastic to be headlining at such an event, which is just growing legs and growing speed, quicker than ever, to be honest, that event. So I was very, very proud to be headlining that. And I was lucky. I actually called Nathan up to do a song with me, which was really special because, we've had a bit of a full circle moment, and then supporting each other off stage, with songwriting and stuff like that. And I called him on stage to do a song, and I know it meant a lot to him, and it definitely meant a lot to me as well.
Now, as we talked about, Nathan is someone you write songs with, and you mentioned that you've only started co-writing recently. You co-wrote Blow the Speakers with Jared Adlam, who was also the song's producer. So had you obviously, well, I'm going to say you obviously hadn't written with him before because this is a recent thing, but maybe you
Yeah.
have. Past year, you've written with him before.
Yeah, no, I actually wrote a couple of songs with Jared previously. We connected really well. Jared's a person that has absolutely no ego about him. He just wants what is best for the song. And I really love that. I love that about Jared. He cares so much about the product and everything that goes into the song. I will kind of go off in this tangent of, creatives, go off and do that. And then he's such a good person to pull me back and go, hey, I reckon it just needs this. And all of a sudden it just unlocks. And it's just magic. It's funny because we look at that song and we actually laughed about it. I actually started writing that song probably 6 months earlier,
right.
With Alex Mather. And we just couldn't do it. We just couldn't write it for some reason. We went on and wrote another terrific song, but then that song was just on the back catalogue. And then Jared and I were sitting down to write a song, and then I said, "Oh, I wrote this thing a little while ago," and then it actually took Jared and I 4 days to do that song. I know, and it sounds like such a simple song, but there were like 4 days of 8-hour sessions to write that, and there were so many different ways that song could have gone. In particular, the chorus. When we had actually finished it, and I had written it, and literally recorded it. I was on my way back to Orange, like my country town of Orange, and James Johnston called me. He was in the studio just after I'd left, and he said, "Mate, I just heard your song. It's awesome." He said, "How far down the road are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a little bit." He said, "Take it or leave it. I think I've got something that'll solve the whole song." And I was like, righto. I literally turned around and drove back up the coast, and I swear this is the truth. Got in there and we rewrote a bit of it. I did a vocal on it, and we sat for a few days, and we ended up actually going with the original one. So it would have been but you know what? I'm so glad that James gave me that advice. He cares a lot about me as a songwriter and as a friend as well. But it was so funny because he said, "I love the fact that you're just prepared to do whatever it takes to make the song great." So it's a really funny story. Now it's the first time I've actually ever shared that. So and we're really proud of the product that we came out with. It's a fun song, as you said. It's a mission statement, so I'm very proud of it.
Well, and it also seems like in the production, you wanted it to reflect your live show, and it does have that live show energy, which is probably not easy to achieve in a studio, actually.
For sure, that's a really good statement. I appreciate you picking that up. Yeah, well, I went into Jared and articulate. Like, I didn't grow up. I didn't study music. I've never had a singing lesson. I've never, I played a bit of guitar and this and that, but I was just so passionate about it that I would make it work. And I wrote. So I'm not very, as I said, musically articulate, if I can call it that. And I said this to Jared. I said, "I like this sound," and I said, "Play that," and he's like. And I said, "I don't like that, but I like this. What is that?" Basically. And it sounds like I've been doing music for 2 days. I promise you, it's been a lot longer than that. But it was funny because Jared had the patience to help me through, find my sound, find what I was able to say. But sometimes you don't have to say it or sing it. It can come through music. And that was really cool. We spent a long time being able to, as you mentioned, emulate a live sound. Something that will really connect well with fans, and something that I could open a festival with or close a festival with, or something that people want to clap their hands and just feel good about. And that's what I feel music should be. I'm at my happiest when I'm watching or creating music, or to be honest, performing live music. But I wanted this song to be something that makes you feel something, and something that I could take onto a stage and create an energy that when you leave a Robbie Mortimer show, you feel better than when you came.
I mean, what you described about working with a producer and trying to articulate what you want it to sound like, I don't know that it's anything to do with levels of experience. I think it's just a really hard thing to articulate, which is why it's so important for you to be there with the producer to have that back and forth till you arrive at something that you're both happy with.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of some guitar tones and real drums and real instruments, I'm really proud of the fact that everything played on this record is real. Like everything we did, there's no, there's no computer sounds or anything like that. It's all, we really did this properly, and there's no problem with not doing it like that. These days this day and age, you can literally get everything off a computer as a producer. But we wanted to go with a sound that was a little bit raw, a little bit scratchy, a little bit this and that. And actually, I recorded the vocal 2 days after 10 days of Tamworth Country Music Festival, so my voice was nearly gone. So there may be a little bit of whiskey consumed in that vocal booth just to get me through it. But I'm really proud of the vocal that came out of it. And it's, as I said, it's a high energy country song, and we created a live sound, which I'm very proud of.
I did notice on your album that your vocals could change depending on the song. Like obviously that's even
Yeah.
though you said you've got no musical training, clearly you have worked at the instrument of your voice to adapt it for the song and make it suitable.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I love I love the softer stuff. As you can tell, like, with my song The Truth, I think my voice does sit quite nice in that lower, that storytelling kind of tone, and I love that, and I don't want to lose that out of my show because I feel like it's a good ace up my sleeve, if that makes sense, to be able to do both. So it's definitely not something I'm going to lose. I'm actually going to lean into it a little later on as well. But I just feel for the performer I want to be, and for I guess the person I am as well. I
Mhm.
wanted it to be, blow the speakers. It's the perfect way to come out. It's the way I want to live my life. I've always been all gas, no brakes. I've always done things at bullet a gate, 110%. It drives my friends, family, everyone absolutely mad. But I wouldn't change it. I love the fact that it's if you're going to get something, like, do it properly. It's the way I grew up, and I'm really glad the last couple of years, as I said, I could have released 15, 20 songs over the last 3 years, but I needed to learn more about the industry, more about songwriting, more about my voice,
Mhm.
and honestly, more about myself. I had to learn a lot about myself before I could put this stuff out. So yeah,
Well, and when you're saying, being a bull at a gate drives people around you mad, it's also important to be true to your own nature. It sounds like you do understand yourself well, because especially as an artist, when you're trying to connect authentically with an audience, if you're pretending to be someone else, they're going to know.
yeah. I think these days you've got to be very careful with putting something out that you're not that that comes across as believable as you can make it, and that's why I'm really glad I waited for such a long time, because in 100% vulnerability, I had to probably go through a little bit of stuff to find out more about who I was as a human, and what I wanted to put out to the world, and what I didn't, and what was going to resonate with people as well. And it all came back to um, you know don't write the craft for other people, write it for yourself. And if you believe in it more than anything else in the world, um, others will believe in it because you will sing it believably. And then I think that's why people like Zach Bryan are doing it so well at the moment, because it's it's so raw, it's so real, it's so you know um you kind of want to reach through the Spotify sometimes, give him a hug, you know what I mean, or you want to cry with him, or you want to drink a beer with him, or something like that. And you can't fake authenticity, especially these days, where everything's put out there to the world for the world to see. You can't fake it if you want to really make it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you have a music video to go with Blow the Speakers, which does capture that live energy as well. And then some quieter moments beside the road with an orange Ford, and I think someone who was your father playing with a
That's right.
cameo. So where was the live footage filmed?
The live footage was filmed at the Night in Nashville Music Festival, and it was really cool because that was the first time I'd ever played Blow the Speakers live to a crowd. And I said to the crowd, um, you know, I, I'd love for you guys to, be a part of this music video. And it was really special because I had a lot of people who have been there for a lot of my journey, um, out in the crowd, and enjoying and hearing that song for the first time. And if I'm honest, it didn't go over any differently than some of the other songs or covers that I had to sing for that gig. It made me very proud that the song went really well, and so we shot that other side of it. But I said to my director that I co-directed this with my friend Craig Honeysett, who actually produced my first couple of albums as well. So but we directed this together, and I said I wanted a story of what I've kind of been through, of everything that's kind of happened. I want to have some family connection in it, but I also really want to have that element of showing who I am as a live performer. And we sat down for a day or two and storyboarded this thing, and my dad gets a little cameo in it when I sell he sells me the truck, the Ute. And he was very, very reluctant, might I add, to be in it. But it's funny. I said, I need an old bloke to sell me the car, and he said, well, get someone older than me. I don't want to be in it. So, but
How
but
dare
if
you
you watch
call
it,
me
I
an
think he
old
deserves
bloke?
an Oscar. He did very well. I think he'll be up for an Oscar this year.
He also let you underpay him for the car. Spoiler alert.
Yes. You know what? Dad's the type of bloke that would do that. If something's going to be taken care of, Dad's the type of bloke to do that. So it was very fitting. That was actually kind of on purpose put in there. So, yeah.
Now, the other thing you have in common with your dad is that you're both professional footy players and you were playing for the Redcliffe Dolphins for 3 years. Did music overlap with that? So were you also performing at the same time?
Yeah, well, I grew up with, honestly, the attitude, and my mum and dad, they kind of said to me, to all of us boys, you do whatever you want to do as long as you do it properly. So there was never any expectation for me. I come from a very famous rugby league family, as you know, and one of my brothers played professional rugby league for 10 years, and he had an incredible career, and I was actually the youngest of the 5 boys. So there was a lot of expectation and pressure on me to become a famous footy player. But the pressure or expectation was never from my own family. It was from outsiders, as it usually is. So I was a little bit lost in my journey. I went and I played. I had a little stint with the Tigers in Sydney, and then I moved up to Brisbane. Played for 3 years with the Redcliffe Dolphins. Had the time of my life to learn a lot about myself. I learned a lot about things, but there's just a couple of things was burning a little bit brighter than the rugby league career, to be honest. I had a few injuries, a few things that I was still a kind of country kid, moved away to a big city, and I just probably didn't love it as much as I used to be honest. So music really started to pick up for me. I was writing a lot then. I was picking the guitar up more and more, and falling in love with like songs and things that I hadn't heard before, and I really got into that creative headspace because it was a bit of a therapy for me, to be honest, being away from my family, being away from home, and then I just fell in love with music more and more, and it really started to kick off. So I've been doing like live, cover gigs for like 12 years or something like that now, and that's where you learn all the best and the worst of the industry. But there was never any pressure. I remember mum and dad saying, you can be a ballerina or a singer or a school teacher or anything you want to be. Just do it properly. Right. And I was very lost on my journey, if I'm honest. I was a bit of a rat bag at school, and I was a bit inquisitive of the world, I should say. And music saved so much of me as a human being. I've got most things that have good in my life came from a song or came from music. So
yeah. And I think that's true of pretty much all of us who love music passionately, is that it's had that effect on our lives. I'm interested to know which music in particular for you when you were at school, because you mentioned school might have helped save you, actually.
Yeah, well, it's great because, as I said, authentically to us, it was always country music that we grew up on. And as I mentioned, John Williamson and Johnny Cash and, Keith Whitley and all that kind of stuff we grew up listening to. But we had such a wide variety of music like Elton John and Billy Joel and Bob Dylan and lyric-based kind of stuff, which made me fall in love with poetry and all that stuff. But I listened to a lot of In Excess. Honestly, the reason I've got long hair is maybe a Michael Hutchence thing, maybe not.
And an In Excess album appears in your music video, I should say.
I appreciate you picking that up, actually. Yeah, so that's all kind of in there on purpose there. And then Matchbox 20 was probably one of my favorite bands as well. But I loved the storytelling, but kind of the sound of it as well. But as I said, I definitely just came back to country music. I love listening to Zac Brown Band. I love the stories in those. In the songs and the fact that you can have a hard country rock song and then turn into an island song and a beautiful storytelling song or a song about your family or your wife or your kids or whatever it is. So I love Zac Brown Band. That really brought me into that kind of mainstream country stuff that I love and listen to and are very influenced to today.
Mm-hmm. Now, something that's also related to country music and has been for a while is the PBR, or the Professional Bull Riders Association. Now, you are affiliated with the PBR. You'll be performing at several PBR events this year. I should say I published and ghost wrote a PBR book a few years ago, so I know all about the PBR.
Wow.
Have you, are you now, or have you ever been tempted to get on a bull, Robbie Mortimer?
Okay, now I'll tell you this. I thought I was the bravest person in the whole. I'm fearless. You couldn't pay me to get on one of those things. They are the bull riders are the most insane blokes in the whole wide world. So absolutely not. And I'm fearless, but not that crazy. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, couldn't tempt me, couldn't even pay me to get on one of those things. They are absolutely insane animals, and the guys riding them, yeah, no chance. No
What
chance
I
at all.
what I discovered working on that book was actually that quite a few of them engage in what I came to call Zen and the art of bull riding, that they really had this incredible sense of how time works. And some of
Yeah,
them were really able to almost manipulate time, that those 8 seconds became quite long for them. And they had this real sense of how each second might work inside the 8 seconds. So they were like fully present and conscious of
that,
where they were while they were on the ball. And I think that there's something related to live performance as a musician for that. It's like you are really present in that moment.
yeah, it's like a manifestation. I love that you've said that actually, because now you've said that I can actually now I've seen behind the shoots and stuff like that. I've seen these bull riders literally map out their ride as you mentioned. But I lay in bed at night, honestly, probably most nights of the week, and I go to bed dreaming or thinking about different music festivals or different things I've done and where I'm going to stand and I know that sounds totally ridiculous, but I can promise you a lot of my music friends would do the exact same thing. And you manifest this and you know where you're going to stand and you know how you're going to sing this, or you've seen other people, and you're very inspired by, as you said, you're manipulating time, and things go so quickly. Like I heard Morgan Evans actually say that on his tour this year is when you're up on stage, you can often blink and then you miss it, and all of a sudden you're in a lonely dressing room, and you
Yeah.
don't have time to feel that feeling that you get on stage until it's finished. So one thing that I'm really cautious of is being so present on stage and letting that time, as you mentioned, um, trying to feel every minute of it because it goes
Mhm.
so quick. Yeah, it goes so quickly. So
And I wonder also just what you were talking about with yeah, thinking about what's going to happen on stage. If you do that preparation, then when you get on stage, that actually does help you be present, because it's like, well, there are decisions I don't have to make because actually I've already made them.
that's yeah. I've done run these scenarios over in my head a million times over before I get on stage, and as you say, like I know what's not going to happen because I know how to avoid that situation, or if it does, I know how to get my way out of it.
Yeah.
So it's just that whole level of professionalism, and as you said, just running it through your head. It might sound silly, but it really makes sense to me to be able to do that and have the ability to somewhat control your destiny there, if that makes sense. You run it through your head so many times, who, what, when, and why of what's going to happen on stage.
Yeah, it's Zen and the art of live performance.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love that. I'm using that one. I can promise you that.
Well, and you can apply it soon because you are going to be in Winton. I think soon you're going to be at the Stockroot Festival in Dubbo, and you have quite a few PBR shows coming up. So that'll keep you occupied for at
Yeah,
least a big chunk of the year.
I'll be looping all those around in my head. That's for sure. So I'm so excited to get out to some of these festivals and some of these music events. It's honestly, it's my favorite thing about being a musician is just that little time you get on stage, and I kind of feel like it's all the hard work that you've done for years and years and years. You kind of, you might get 40 minutes, you might get an hour, you might get a bit longer if you're lucky. Um, so every single festival, big, small, in between, whatever it is, I soak it up and I absolutely love it. So I'm really excited to get around the country this year, and I've seen more of the country last year, I think, traveling around with these PBRs and just saying yes to every songwriter and this and that than I have in my whole life. So my guitar's taken me to some pretty cool places around the world, but particularly in Australia that I probably wouldn't have gone if I didn't play music.
Yeah, right. I imagine with a festival show, PBR, and that includes PBR, that there's a certain knack and skill in harnessing the audience so that they're actually paying attention to you. It's almost like being a ringmaster.
For sure. Well, with the PBR, you get when I do the halftime performance in the arenas, I think it's 11 minutes, and also I'm really glad that I got it in my head early on that these people haven't bought tickets to come and see me. They are there for the bull riding, and having that ability to then go, but I'm going to win them over, and I want them to leave going, that was fun, that was great. He really cared about his performance, or he cared about us. There's a personal element to each and every one of us, even if there's 7,000 people in some of these arenas, anywhere from 4 to 7,000 people in the big sold out ones. You want people to feel personal and connected to you. So I think having that headspace to going in saying, I know these people aren't here for me, but I want them to leave being a fan, or just feeling better for having witnessed the show. So, yeah, I think it's a really, really important part of that. Smiling during it. And there's been a couple of pinch me moments where I've looked around and gone, wow, this is so special to be. And that's when I'm really trying to be present and love the moment. Because one thing I'm very aware of, and one of my brothers actually, my brother who was a professional athlete, Daniel, he said this to me. He said, "You think it's going to last a lot longer sometimes, and every single moment, just take a breath on it and just enjoy it." So you might not be in the position that you are tomorrow. You probably will be, but you might not. So just take a breath on it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's great advice, and I'm really glad I learned that as a kind of up and coming artist, and I'm glad I listened to that, to be honest, because so many young kids going to go, "Oh yeah, sweet, whatever, I'll be doing," and I'm really glad that I've probably why I appreciate and love live music so much, because I know that it can go as quick as it came.
So those shows are mapped out for a while. Are there other different sorts of venues you'll be playing in between them, or is that dependent on like when you release music and any tours you might do around that?
Yeah, so my team are kind of working that out at the moment. Trying to get on a couple more of these music festivals has been a bit of demand lately, which is terrific. It's been a lot of hard work, so yeah, so those PBRs and the other music festivals are my main kind of focus this year. And then in that downtime, I'm hoping to book some more festivals and things like that, and just get the name out there, because, as I said, it is my favorite thing to do. So get out and see as much of Australia as I can, and play high energy country music. How lucky am I? So that's the goal. Any downtime I'm getting, I'm writing or spending with my family or anything like that. So yeah, right. Very lucky.
Well, I think we brought it back nicely to the single Blow the Speakers. That is the mission statement, as I mentioned at the top. It is a song I'm sure you'll be playing if people see you live, and I look forward to whatever songs you're releasing next, but I'll listen to this one for the time being. Robbie, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And I've had a lovely time chatting to you. Thanks for your support.